Hello, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about retouching photographs. I'm going to work with um, fixing, adjusting lightness and darkness, and I'm also going to do a little bit of color correcting. So in this image, you can see that these tanks are too dark, and we've got some hot spots here. So there's a couple ways that we can manage this. I have opened over here the background layer, and I'm going to double click it so that it becomes a transparent layer. I am going to select all by Command A, copy and paste. Okay, you may be wanting to jot some of this down because there's several steps and they're not hard, but you just want to remember what they are. Okay, so now while I'm on this top layer, notice it says normal here. I am going to switch this to screen. You can see how that brightens that up right away. If I go to opacity, I can then bring that down so it's not as striking. And here we've got the histories, so I can look and see what it looked like when I opened it and what it looks like now. So what I'm finding between here and here, this red feels a little bit washed out as well. So I'm not thrilled with that, but I think I need to make some concessions here. So if I shut this, you can see that this is truly transparent. And I can go in, I'm going to click this back on so you can see that I'm going to be on this layer here. And I can go and remove this area that's very bright so that I don't blow out the lightness there. So I just did that really quickly, but you can see how you can go and delete different pieces of it, and I can use the lasso tool to go in here and grab this. And I'm just doing this pretty quick and dirty, but you would do it with different tools. So I could select that, and then I could go in and take the eraser tool and erase the rug. So in some ways I like the rug to be darker and the ceiling to be darker so that your attention is drawn to the objects in this room. Okay, so you can see I can go back up to open and back to here, and I think that is working a bit better. Okay, so another thing that I can do, I'm going to turn off this layer for a moment. I'm going to select all, copy and paste again, and I am going to do something different where I'm going to darken this wall. So where I had gone to screen before, I am now going to go to multiply, and I am going to play with that slider again. Okay, so now I'm looking at this light area and seeing how I feel about that area. And so then I can go and select the areas that are dark and delete those so you can see the difference that made. And again, I can go back to the slider and I can test, do I want to get too dark and play with that. So now I can try it with both of these and see, all right, is this better or is this better? And click that line. Or was it better before I went back? So from there to there, I think that is better. So I can decide that I like this, so I can go and save. Sometimes I save my original, and so if I hit save, I would save my original. So I can go to save as and call it retouched, especially since I just did this quick and dirty. Okay, so now If I have this as a RGB instead of CMYK, this doesn't work with its CMYK, but with RGB, I can change auto tone, auto contrast, and auto color. And sometimes these help too. So I can go back to here and look if it made a change. It didn't really actually make a change. Sometimes it's quite drastic, sometimes it's not. So that's another option you can do. All right, so this is just a demonstration, but I am going to give you this rocking chair, and I want you to lighten it. You can see how dark it is, and you can also use this chair if you'd like in the project that we're going to go over after you work on this exercise. So the first thing you can do is select all, copy, and paste. Go to screen, and you can see right away that that has lightened this chair quite a bit. So you can play back and forth to see if it's enough or not, where you feel comfortable, and then you can go back to open. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't make it fade out too much. Excuse me, I'm having hiccups. And then the next thing you can do is you can try, let me make sure it's RGB, the auto tone. That washed it out, so I know I don't like that. I could do auto contrast. Didn't seem to really make a difference. And auto color. And so do I like that, or do I like it more vivid? I think I actually like the way I had it there. So there's still some darkness in here that I might not like so much. So what I can do is I can play with lightening something as well. So this is called your dodge tool, which will lighten. And again, just like all the brushes, you can go in and grab as much as you want, and you can also change the exposure so it doesn't do too much. And I can just hit in here. Actually, first I need to merge these two layers. So when I get the two layers that I like there, if you remember, you go up to layer, and we're going to merge down. And then I can try lightening with the dodge tool. And if there's an area that I want to darken, I can try with the burn tool in there. Now that's hitting it pretty hard and heavy there. So again, I can change that exposure. I can make, I don't want any hardness, but I can change this maybe to be a little larger so it's fluffier. And so do I like the way that's working? It's not sort of making some dirty spots in there. So no, I'm not happy with that. So you can see how these tools sometimes work, sometimes they don't. Now, other adjustments that you can do is under image, there's some adjustments where you can do lightness and brightness. So you can do brighten the whole thing. Generally, I don't use this to brighten the whole thing. I do that other technique I taught you before because it just seems to wash something out, and you can also play with the contrast. So that's one option. You can play with the levels, and levels are taking, this is RGB, so I can go with each, with pulling or adding the red, and I can do it with the midtones or the dark tones, and I can do that with each color. And then I'm going to cancel that. The other thing that I can play with, which I tend to like a little bit more, some people like levels better, I like curves better. Sometimes I use both. So then with curves, I can pick, say, the red, and then by pulling on this line, I can pull out the red. Notice how it turns green. I can also hit some points on here and change the variables a little bit on that. And I can do that also with the blues to see if that helps. Now, that was RGB. You can also move this to CMYK. And so then after I have CMYK, when I go to these adjustments and I go to curves, instead of working with just RGB, I have 4 colors to work with. So here I can play with that magenta and not have it turn as green because it's not a direct opposite like in RGB. So I can play with adding a little bit of blue and not having it turn green. So again, let me just review all these different things that I've done. So we have under image, you have adjustments. So depending on whether you have RGB or CMYK, you can do the auto tone, contrast, and color if you're in RGB, but not if you're in CMYK, okay? So then you can make adjustments with either RGB or CMYK using levels or curves, okay? And then the other thing that I did over here was first duplicating that layer, which you can do by duplicate layer or hitting down here, or I had done select all, copy and paste just because I'm in the habit of doing it. It's probably easier to do duplicate layer. Okay, and then when you get to this layer, you can hit normal and you can play with multiplying, which makes it very dark, or screen, which makes it light, and then you play with the opacity back and forth. Okay, so what I want you to do is to take this chair and play with it, try to improve on it a bit, and then you're going to hand it in, and I will look at that, and then while I'm looking at those, you'll start looking at the other videos. So first, look at this one video, go and do the exercise of the chair, upload it to Blackboard, and then you can go on to the other videos and the class project, okay? And I'll give you feedback on the chair during class if I have time. Depending on how many questions I have, I might not be able to get through all of that. Okay? Good luck.